Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Spring Hill Municipal Planning Commission meeting for the April 22nd, 2024 work session. The time is 5:30 p.m. There are 7 members on the commission, and all are present with the exception of Commissioner Duda. We're joined tonight by our city engineer, Mr. Lance Holdorf, our planning assistant, Ms. Lucretia Sappington, our city attorney, Mr. Patrick Carter, and our interim development director, Mr. Dwayne Hicks. And one of these days I'll make all y'all wave when I say your names or ask you to. The work session is an opportunity for the Planning Commission to review applications and have discussions with the submitters. There's no voting tonight. On each agenda item, staff will give their report, and then representatives for that item will have the opportunity to come to the podium and discuss those items or provide any pertinent information to the Planning Commission. There are copies of the agenda on the podium in the back. Audience members wishing to speak to non-agenda items will have the opportunity in just a moment. Audience members wishing to speak to an agenda item will have the opportunity when we reach that agenda item, and we'll have 5 minutes to address the Planning Commission. No rebuttal marks are permitted. For those of you who are not able to attend the in-person meetings, please submit your public comments regarding agenda and non-agenda items to pcpubliccomment@springhilltn.org. I believe our city administrator had something she would like to address the commission with.
Yes, thank you, Chairman and members of the commission. It is with some regret that I announce to you that this will be Lance Holdorf's last meeting as the city engineer. Lance, we wish you well in your position. We appreciate all that you've done to up our game here. And we know that you're leaving us for your first love, which is floodplain and hydrology work. It was something we desperately needed to be brought into our awareness, and we really appreciate what you've done for that. We recognize that that's your first love, and I have a bit of a parting gift for you. Here's a gift from your new employers. Lance is leaving us on May 3rd. And we have put appropriate plans in place with his cooperation of how to make this the smoothest possible transition. And we'll be beginning the search for another PE as civil engineer, probably in the next couple of days. But Lance, we want to wish you well, and we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate all that you've added, all these. While I've been on the commission, you've been so helpful, so I appreciate that. But I'm happy for you to chase what you love. So with that, we'll move on to item D. But I do want to actually, because it looks like we may have some public comment on items, so I do want to address a couple of items that have been deferred or inadvertently carried over and will not be discussed tonight. Item 2, FPL 1583-2024, which is June Lake Phase 1 Pod B. The submitter has requested that be deferred, so we will not be discussing tonight. Also, items 8 and 9, FPM 1571 and 1572-2024 regarding the sidewalks and green space in the arbors at Autumn Ridge. That item was tabled at the last voting meeting, so it was inadvertently carried over, but it was tabled, so it is not up for discussion tonight. With that, we will move to item D, public comment for non-agenda items. Do we have any audience members that wish to address the commission regarding any non-agenda items?
Hi, my name is Christy Smith. I live at 136 Split Rail Lane. I didn't have this in my comments, but Lance, I wish you the best. Thank you for everything and your service to the city. You've done an excellent job. Appreciate that. Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. I just wanted to mention tonight that I've been involved in the, I guess, inaugural or first Citizens Academy. And I just wanted to say thank you and great appreciation to everyone that has put those pieces together. We still have more parts to go to. Lucas and Maddie are doing a great job while we're out there. All of these sessions have been extremely educational, informative. And I commend everybody that's put that together. We've been through the general session with Ms. Caskey. I'm not sure where she went. Was there, went to the fire department, went to the water treatment plant. It's an excellent program. I highly recommend anybody next year when it comes about to attend. At the same time, the Citizens Police Academy is open for enrollment. I did that last year. I highly recommend that as well. You'll learn a lot about the city. You'll learn a lot about the hard work that everybody's doing, and so I do appreciate that. Another thing I'd like to, that's probably more of a BOMA, but I figure at some point it will impact the Planning Commission, and that's been some conversations about changing the ordinance in regards to RV parking. I know that that's an ordinance under BOMA, but planning does have to probably be involved as you think about the future. The only thing I'd like to think about and say about that is I understand and appreciate the areas that may have larger lots and that may have a constraint and maybe getting to the back. But I'd like for everybody to consider unintended consequences. Some of those unintended consequences are if RVs are parked in driveways, what may happen to people's cars? Will they wind up in the street? As somebody on the Traffic Advisory Committee, we hear a lot about street parking. We hear a lot about safety of fire department, first responders, police department not being able to get to their locations in a timely manner. Also think about the safety in which, if there is a fire, what it might hinder in fighting that fire for a particular structure or a structure next door or an additional structure to be caught on fire in the front. Also for our police department, if there happens to be some type of a situation in a home, would that impede their line of sight if there is some type of situation that might put them in danger? I know that this is just a discussion. I know it's more of a BOMA issue, but I'm sure planning does have to be involved in some way as future planning. And I'd just like to kind of take those things into consideration and like to put that on. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everybody's service here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Is there any other public comment for non-agenda items? Okay, I don't see any. We'll move on to item E, draft April 8th, 2024 Planning Commission regular meeting minutes. These have been provided to all the members. Are there any changes that any of you saw needed to be made? Okay, don't see anybody speaking up on that one. That will move to item F, bonds. Ms. Stahl, is there any additional information you'd like to provide for regarding the bond packet?
For the record, Missy Stahl, CIP Director. No, there's no additional information. The developers have submitted all their documentation, and walkthroughs have been done for the one that are releasing and signed off on by city staff.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions or comments for Ms. Stahl? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That will move to item G, old business. There is none, so we'll move to item H, new business. Item 1, STP 1512-2023, submitted by Crunk Engineering for Main Street Retail Development. Staff report, please, Mr. Reed.
Thank you. This item was brought forth to the Planning Commission a few months ago. It has now come back. The applicant is requesting site plan approval to construct an 18,743 square foot retail development with 2 stories. Currently, it is on 2 adjacent parcels. They are currently going through an administrative approval to conjoin both of those lots into one single lot. One of the areas of concern last time it was brought forth at Planning Commission was their landscaping buffer, their easement buffer, and their right-of-way dedication from Centerline. They have since fixed that. The property is located west of Main Street, currently at 4841 and 4843, and east of the Tanyard Springs subdivision. The site includes 80 total parking spaces, with 5 ADA spaces provided on the site plan. There are a couple items that the applicant needs to make revisions prior to the voting meeting. Staff does recommend approval of this site plan with 3 planning conditions of approval and 10 engineering conditions of approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a representative for the applicant? Yes, sir.
My name is Aaron Keithley with Crunk Engineering. We've reviewed the comments and agreed, like everything sounds good to us. So I'm just eager to hear what your all's feedback is.
Mr. Fitterer.
Thank you, Chair. I've just got a couple of questions. The traffic impact study suggests installing a medium at the existing drive access to the retail to the north. Is that part of these plans?
No, it is not.
Why not?
There were pavement markings that were added to the one to the north.
It said restriping, and it also recommended installing the median.
And yeah,
And that's what's in the traffic impact study.
Mm-hmm.
So the traffic impact study makes a recommendation. I am going to do everything I can to make it part of the final approval. Okay. Can you explain the thoughts on not including sidewalks?
Sidewalks around the building?
No, on Main Street.
We were asked not to. We had one initially proposed, but it was there was a proposal for some sort of fee since there isn't a road or any sort of sidewalks to connect to along Main Street. So that's why there were none proposed along Main Street.
It was staff that asked, or staff driven? Okay. Okay. And maybe I'm just missing it, but I just want to verify that the drive aisle easement goes all the way to the southern property line. I might just be looking at your lines
It does, yes,
wrong.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Provided that it adheres to all the elements of the traffic impact study, I am.
Cool.
No, they're all three separate. For Phase 8, the applicant is proposing to create 57 single-family lots within the Brandonwood subdivision, Phase 8. Staff is recommending approval of this preliminary plat with 5 planning conditions of approval and 9 engineering conditions of approval.
Good afternoon, Joe Epps, Anderson, Duck Epps and Associates. We'll work with staff on all their comments, and I'll be prepared to try to answer anything that may come up from the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Chair. Joe, I'm sure you're probably aware by now. If you're not, I know your client is, that the neighboring TND is looking to make some changes to what they have entitled and vested. And so, Dwayne, I would just ask of staff that we at least sit down one time between Brandon Woods, the TND, and staff. And if there's a need to coordinate, recognizing that you both have existing vested rights, we take a look at what's the right thing to do. I know your client's certainly been cooperative in similar situations in the past, and I believe the other current person who controls the land is as well, the TND. So, Dwayne, if you can just make sure that gets done, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Provided all that is done, are you okay with consent? Is everyone okay with it being on consent? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment for this item? Okay, and I skipped it on the last item regarding the Main Street retail development. Is there any public comment for the Main Street retail development? Okay, I don't see any. That will move to item 4 on the agenda, PPL 1565-2024, regarding Brandon Woods Phase 10. That's not right. That's not right.
9.
Phase 9, yes. 1565.
Yeah, so this one is applicant is proposing to create 36 single-family lots within the Brandon Woods Phase 9. The plans illustrate the 36 lots and the roadways that are planned. Staff does recommend approval with 5 planning conditions of approval and 9 engineering conditions of approval.
Representative, please.
Yes, same thing. We'll work with staff on their comments and try to answer any you may have.
Are there any comments or questions on this one? Is everyone okay with this one being on consent? Okay, thank you. That will move to item 5, PPL 1566-2024 for Brandon Woods Phase 10. Mr. Reed?
Thank you. The applicant is proposing to create 45 single-family lots within the Brandon Woods subdivision, Phase 10. The applicant is requesting preliminary plat approval and the included infrastructure from the Planning Commission. Staff is recommending approval with 5 planning conditions of approval and 9 engineering conditions of approval.
So Representative.
Same one on this one.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions from Planning Commission on this one? Is everyone okay with this one being on consent? Okay. Put this one on consent as well. Thank you, Joe. With that, we'll move to item 6, RZN 1567-2024, submitted by Anderson Delk Epps for the Malin Moore Road located at Malin Moore. Staff report, please, Mr. Reed.
Thank you. The Malin Moore Road is, the applicant is requesting a rezoning from RR and AG to R1 plan development with a conservation design overlay. A water and sewer capacity analysis has been submitted and approved by Thomas & Hutton along with this request. Spring Hill's comprehensive plan shows that there is a desire for this property to be residential neighborhood area and rural neighborhood area. I know on the map, I just want to specify on the map, the little piece that's connecting onto Malin Moore, kind of looks like a horseshoe, is actually a separate parcel from the main one. So there's 2 parcels at hand. The large one fits within the 2040 plan, and the smaller parcel connected or attached to Malin Moore does not fit within the Spring Hill 2040 rising plan. Just that little parcel. Excuse me. The applicant has completed a water sewer that has been approved by Thomas & Hutton. As stated, is a little weird with the Spring Hill 2040 plan as it does fit and it doesn't fit within that just small parcel. There is a little bit of flood area on the northern end of the larger parcel. Staff does recommend approval of this rezoning, however. And I can answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reed. Representative, please.
Yes, Joe Epps, Anderson Delk Epps and Associates. Yeah, I'd try to answer any questions you may have on this rezoning request.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions on the rezone? Mr. Linville?
Thank you, Chair. Joe, quick question. I guess with having a pending PD kind of going concurrently along with this plan, why the request for the independent rezoning when there's a PD going across as well?
That's kind of, and it wasn't this staff that was in place, it was the previous staff that we'd talked to. That was kind of the way they were looking at it. It was going to be a rezoning request along with a planned development with a conservation overlay. So that's the way we requested.
Simply staff driving that. Okay.
that and the way they explained it to us was the rezoning one wouldn't pass without the other. The concept plan had to be along, and eventually the preliminary had to go at the same time. So that way, when you rezone it, plan development, that's what it is. That's a plan specific.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? We'll do public comment on this item in just a minute. Are y'all in agreement to, before we take a public comment, but yes, Mr. Fitter.
My questions are around the concept
Right.
plan, and so
Same.
what we do with this. I think we're better off having the concept plan conversation first.
Okay. All right. I agree with you. Okay. We're now going to talk about the next item, because they go hand in hand. Item 7, which is a more detailed discussion about the neighborhood, and then I will give anybody here for public comment for this whole rezone and development. I will give you an opportunity to address the Planning Commission regarding either of those items. So I don't want you to think I forgot. Staff report on item 7, please.
Yes, thank you. The applicant is requesting plan development concept review and discussion from the board. The applicant is proposing 213 single-family lots located at the current site along Malin Moore Road to go along with the rezoning that we just heard. I do want to state that their request is an R1 plan development with a conservation overlay. R1 residential districts require 20,000 square feet of a minimum lot area, minimum lot width of 100 feet, and there's a couple other data numbers shown in the staff report. The conservation overlay with a PD in this, there is no required lot area or width standards under the conservation overlay, hence why they are proposing a minimum lot area of 6,000 feet and a minimum lot width of 55 feet. The point of the conservation overlay is to protect the natural resources on the lot. The access to the site is going to come from Malin Moore Road. The proposed development shall dedicate 12.5 feet of right-of-way to provide 37.5 feet from the center line of Malin Moore Road. A traffic impact study has been conducted, and the proposed plan is in accordance with the findings and recommendations from that TIS. There is an emergency access on the western part of the big parcel. Since this is a non-voting item, this is just for discussion only. There are a couple items that the applicant must take into account when coming forth with a full submittal for this site. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Epps.
Ready to talk about the concept plan.
I know. I have a question about and actually, this was a question Mr. Duda had. The farm area. Can you give me a more detailed?
Yeah.
Like what does that look like?
What we've discussed as far as that goes is because of the ability to probably cut that for hay and stuff like that, is we don't think it'd be row cropped, and it definitely wouldn't have livestock back there, but we see that as perfect opportunities for some farmer, local farmer, something like that, to be able to get in there, maintain that, cut hay on it and everything else, and would work well within what, the property could be used for as far as a farming area.
Okay.
We've also put a couple places aside for community gardens and stuff like that, where you could have the community gardens, but that would be the main farming part would be cutting the hay.
I really liked that, and but just the lack of detail on that, I wasn't exactly sure what farm area meant. That is the only question I had. Is that Mr. Fitterer?
Thank you, Chair. Joe, a couple of general comments. Anytime we see a PD, I think not only the Planning Commission but MoMA as well really benefit from just absolute clarity on what areas of relief are being asked for from the base zoning, and then identifying the public benefit that comes with a PD as well. I'm sure you'll flush that out as we get further along.
Yes, sir.
Looking at your concept plan, I can probably guess what most of your responses are going to be, but would ask that you be clear in what those are as well. As far as the plan as it's presented today, you've got a couple of phase lines crossing amenity sites. Would ask for you to try to make those land on one side or the other. Let's make it clear which phase that an amenity is going to be involved in. Open a hearing plans that you've discussed with the water department as far as a secondary feed and how we're going to loop it down there. I'm guessing you don't have all those details worked out yet, but I think that's important information as we go forward.
Right now we're looking at coming in and coming off of Malin Moore and coming over and coming through the cul-de-sac. There's one cul-de-sac shown on there.
Okay. I know I've heard, at least from a couple of Murray County officials, already about Jackson Road. I've shared as much with your client. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Murray County Road Superintendent wanted to have a conversation with you about that Jackson Road connection. Would just ask that you have that conversation.
Absolutely.
I'd be interested in more connections to the school property, specifically pedestrian connections. I see you having to go to the property line. Obviously, you then have to be coordinating with the Murray County School Board, who may or may not be receptive to that. But as we go further along, I want to know that we're at least asking and trying to have the conversation. And then lastly, the location of the amenity plan, or the amenity area with the pool and clubhouses and mailbox. Are there other areas on the site where you considered placing that? I mean, what led you to ultimately putting it where you did?
I think Donnie thought with the theme of it being conservation subdivision and everything else, that leaving the areas between the lots and everything else is more of a natural state. Mm-hmm. And with some play areas and stuff like back there and walking trails back there, and putting that amenities up there closer to the road would just be a better fit.
Okay. As I look at it, two of the thoughts I had is, the pool area, being up closer to Malin Moore, maybe that makes that a less enjoyable amenity, being
right
out by the road like that. Ultimately, if it ends up there, would be looking for what you plan on doing from a vegetation or screening standpoint.
Landscaping.
Yeah.
Right.
And then secondly, just neighborhood access to the amenity.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the placement, we're almost forcing it to be a drivable thing,
right?
Instead of walking to the neighborhood pool. So I'd be open to seeing some other suggested placements of it to incorporate it more into the neighborhood. I understand what you're saying and how that maybe goes against what you're trying to accomplish from a spacing standpoint, but
yeah, I think, well, when you look through it, it says you're supposed to be 150 feet between the clusters that you do.
Yeah.
I think we would certainly put it in there if that's what the planning commission wanted in that area, because we kind of viewed that as that needed to be open space and be really open in that. So if y'all would be acceptable to going in someplace like that, that'd be fine with us.
I think for now, since we're talking about a concept, if you're open to thinking through it further,
right.
I think that works for tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Linville?
Thank you, Chair. Joe, I know you guys are at concept stage, but has the traffic impact study been performed on the site yet?
It has, and
Okay.
then it's going to be looked at again. I believe Gerald has had conversations with they're going to look at it again, because we got it done a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2 years ago. So they're talking about what to redo. They're kind of rescoping it. And
Yeah. Do you know from a high level, like what improvements it called out?
At that one right there was no improvements required.
Okay.
Yeah, because of kind of a low impact. Plus, I think some of the improvements had already been done with the school that went in there and stuff like that on some of the intersections.
Very good. I'll group these next two comments together to kind of piggyback on what Alderman Fitter said regarding both the public benefit. Would be interested to know more about
Right.
how you guys are proceeding with that, and then also I think along with that, with this being a PD, requires approval by the BOMA as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would just encourage you all to seek feedback from the BOMA before this gets too far down the road,
Right.
just to see what their feedback would be as well. We've seen that on a couple of other projects. I've had concerns about sewer that's less of a planning concern, more of a BOMA policy concern, and would just I would want you guys to get that feedback as well as you guys are going through the process. And then the last question I have is from the site design, thinking that the Jackson Road connection would be used for emergency access. is there a thought to why the main thoroughfare throughout the neighborhood is not a straight shot to the emergency connection, or was consideration made for that rather than it being a loop where if emergency access does have to come through that site, it doesn't have to go all the way around the loop?
When we first started talking, and here once again is the previous staff that we first started this discussion with, because I think we first started this when Calvin was here, so it goes back a long ways, and different fire marshal and stuff like that. That's why the entrance road is as wide as it is past that first road. That was always going to be both ingresses and egresses was going to be that. The theory was, if anything happens out there, the roadway's wide enough that it won't be totally blocked.
Okay.
And you can always get traffic in and out. Why it goes past that intersection is all the roads are looped interior, so you can always get around. So if the road is passable from the first intersection out to Malin Moore, then that qualifies as two ingress and egresses. That was the thought process on that. And the only emergency access back there, the only reason that is put back there is that's what, back then when it was Tony, he said, Tony, just label that as a emergency ingress and egress just in case it ever has to, be used. So that's
Okay.
basically what came about. And I think we kind of explained that to the present staff, and that's why they've had some questions about it, but that's kind of where we're stayed at on that.
Okay. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, just to build on Alderman Fitter's one comment too about the like the pool and everything in the front. I agree. I think personally, I think it would be better suited further back, more in the mid portion of the subdivision. I like the idea though of some type of open space up front. Maybe that's the dog park or something up front. I just think more people are going to use the pool. And then my only other comment is, and I've made this comment in the past on other projects, I don't think we have a set standard of sizing pools, but and this is schematic, I know, but the pool just feels kind of small to me for the size. But again, I know that we're just at the beginning of phases of this, so something to consider.
Any other comments, commissioners? Okay, well, I'd like to do public comment before we talk about the rezone. Thank you, Mr. Epps. Is there public comment for this item? If you would, please come to the microphone and come ahead and tell us your name and address for the record, please. You'll have 5 minutes. You may need to pull that microphone down a little bit. Thank you.
Well, I'll comment now. We cannot hear anything back there at all. I don't know if it's on. I don't know what was said, discussion you had, but that was our comments that we have. My name is Bridget Ward, and I live at 2950 Jackson Road in Spring Hill, as do all of our neighbors here.
Okay.
As it says 6 there. We had a few questions, particularly on page of the packet 152, when it says Jackson Road will be utilized as a second point of access. We wanted to clarify that or make a comment on that. Called out as an emergency access, which I was here in 2017 when that land was purchased by the current developer, and at that time it was said it was just for emergency access only. If that's the way it's going to remain, we'll be very happy with that because they certainly need access. But to use that Jackson Road as a second point of access, our road is 18 to 20 feet wide only. That's it. And if we have 2 cars now, or 2 vehicles, I should say, coming, we have to maneuver back and forth, and it's very difficult for that. It is not going to work for regular construction traffic going in or people coming out of the development. I know it says a rural roadway servicing 6 residents. Improvements need to be assessed as part of the TIS. As far as the improvements, which made us think that it's going to be used for more than just emergency access. So I guess that's a question, and it's also a statement. We know that Murray County is a Murray County. Jackson Road is a Murray County road, and I've already talked with our commissioners who have some concern about that, and that was alluded to by Mr. Fitterer. Thank you very much. So that was our concern, that road is not going to be accessible at all, and we would like to know what is going to happen, because it's going to affect our rights as property owners. And also, perhaps you already know, but the west part of Jackson Road is Rutherford Creek, and it goes straight down to 30 feet of Rutherford Creek. There is no road that can be accessed or changed or improved. So we just wanted to share that with you as well. And the other, I heard something about traffic study, and we wondered if the traffic study is new, and is it going to include the new high school traffic?
We actually don't answer questions back. This is really
Yeah,
just
I
to
know
hear
that.
you out.
Yeah.
But we will definitely keep that in mind.
Yes, but we wanted to make sure that people understood the small and how small that road is.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you all.
Is there further comment on this item? Or either two of these items?
I'm Ken Lovelace. I live at 3454 Malamore Road, which is just down the hill from where you see Stonegate subdivision on the right. Go down the hill. They come off the hill at 60 miles an hour now. Ain't no lie. I've lived there 29 years. Lovelace Lane, if you've been out there, you know the driveway. I live way back in the back, me and my sister-in-law. And we're worried about the traffic. Like he said, traffic study was done 2 years ago. We've built 2 schools and fixed to finish a third in the last 2 years. The traffic's terrible. Oak Lake, all the other subdivisions built in the Murray County side down towards the interstate, they all come through there to get to Spring Hill. And they just need, I think another traffic study need to be done. And by Lord, please do not cut the oak tree down. You will have some people come apart. I'm just saying, because it's, you know, it's just, look at it every day. So, she brought up good points. I know where Jackson Road, I know Steve Baker lives out on Jackson Road and farms. And I can't believe he's here, not here, but, and that's a little tiny road. So, but anyway, she spoke correctly, and hopefully I did too. So, thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
That 5 minutes for one person or for the
One
total?
person.
Okay,
One person.
good, because we just wanted to add a couple of things and just state also, I'm Monty Ann Swafford, 2970 Jackson Road, neighbors with Bridget. Just our family also opposes this Jackson Road access, and a couple of reasons. We just have grown to love the quiet, serene, peaceful quality of life there on that. It's like a back road that nobody travels except those who live there. So we've been there 12 years and have enjoyed that. And we have horses that we ride on the road, you know, and we don't want traffic to interfere with that. And the traffic too, that another thing that Bridget was just mentioning was about the traffic with the new high school and the connection. All the Greens Mill is going to be going down Malamore, and then we wanted to cut through our road if that's open. So, and the lack of green space. I mean, the wildlife there on Jackson Road is amazing. It's like a park. It's like a national park. There's all kinds of deer, and I've seen pileated woodpecker and indigo buntings. You know, the birds there, and the foxes, the bobcats, the everything. So we feel like that's going to be destroyed also if it's open to through traffic. So, and I know that the bakers, he mentioned, they just had something else to do tonight, so they would also be adamantly opposed to that, the ones who do the farming on that road. I guess that's all that I have, but just wanted you to know that all of us, all the neighbors there are opposed to that being open to through traffic. Thank you.
Any further comment on this item? Okay. Well, we'll leave this off consent for the rezone. The other is just a plan review, so there's not really that is not something that was open to be on consent anyway, as it was just a review item and not a plan to be approved tonight or at the next meeting. And I wanted to go back because I didn't feel like I'd asked this on all the Brandon Woods items. Was there any public comment about that? I don't think that there was, but I just want to double check. Okay. With that, we'll move to other business. There is none. item J, roundtable. Is there any comments? Mr. Glass?
Lance, thank you for everything you've done for the city. You'll be sorely missed.
Anybody else? Okay. Meeting adjourned.